Hello again, Sir Do-It-All here. This will probably be part 2.5 of the Alternator Plus Kinetic Battery video series. I wanted to post something while I wait to find solution to the mechanical portion of that arrangement. In the meantime, I had ordered a few more items to play around with, and I wanted to present another tangent within this that will be a different video series. That would be some kind of open system circuit, or circuits plural, that is motionless, that doesn't have some kind of mechanical action. We can keep a relationship between, mechanical, dynamic things with electrical, and we can go back and forth between them. Every time you do that, there is loss in friction and heat. The least amount of that we have to endure, the better. So while I wait for getting the components I need for that kinetic battery, inertia battery, flywheel battery, whatever you want to call it, I decided to post this video, which sort of is a middle video that's going to tangent off into another series. What I have here is a DC to DC buck boost power supply, and I got this because it can boost from between 6 to 12 volts up to 36 volts, obviously with a sacrifice of amperage. The output wattage is I think it was supposed to be like 70% efficient on the output, but sometimes just that extra voltage lets you do things that you couldn't with the lower voltage. Anyway, I had this connected to the motor speed controller to run the alternator, and it did make the alternator run faster. The alternator output a lot higher voltage as well, and while I was running the alternator motor with this battery, I had jumper cables attached to this battery over here, and it was charging that battery. Now, I could not go long enough to test the overall over unity prospect that we may have had there, because I think that the term over unity has been misused way too often. I think maybe I should say it's been used irresponsibly, because you can't just determine, well, it seems I've got, this many watts going in and this many watts going out. It looks good, but you really have to test over an extended period of time and really see what you're getting, because you're not always gonna get true readings when you're just reading voltage on a battery. So I couldn't do it justice to say that we were getting over unity there. I think it just needs to be investigated further. I was actually going to show that in this video, but unfortunately, if I could get it going and spun up, everything was good. But I turned it off to readjust something, and when I went to turn it back on, it made a little sound, and then I couldn't get it going. And so I think the motor speed controller, something happened to it in there. So I don't know what happened, because it was working for quite a while, and I was doing readings on it and that kind of thing. So I was disappointed that quit working. Like I said, I prefer to speak of open system in these scenarios, because open system I think is more general in terms of what is going on, whereas over unity specifically seems to convey, oh, there's definitely more going out than in, and people have a hard time with that. Open systems are systems that, through harmonic and resonance and that follow many of the laws of sympathetic vibration, what they do is they open a gate into the inverted realm of energy, and that gate allows in energy from the ambient environment. A simple collapsing field on an inductor is one way that gate is open. The back EMF, that the legendary back EMF scenario that everyone knows is one of the keys to opening that gate to allow outside energy to enter the circuit. That's the difference between closed systems and open systems. Closed systems, if there is no transference of energy from the ambient environment into your device, you cannot get out more than in. People have to keep in mind that if you're reading something that seems to be more out than in, you can't say, well, that can't be true because it goes against the laws of thermodynamics. No, you can't just determine that either. You have to investigate. You think, oh, well, it must be an open system. Somehow there is something entering into the system from the ambient environment. That's the thing that needs to be changed in the mindset of engineers and people looking at these things. They're so rigid in their mindset that they just deny what they see. Or the other group who is an advocate to getting more out than in, is they tend to believe before they investigate. So that's the path that I want to take us on with this channel, is to just look at some things and investigate them. And the goal also in this is I want to be able to do it with off-the-shelf things that people can buy or salvage without winding inductors, winding toroids, making their own testicoils or whatever like that. If you can find off-the-shelf items that can be assembled, it makes it where more people can join in to the investigation and learn in the process. I have circuits, that I have on the shelf. I've had on the shelf for many years, and I will get to those, and I will eventually prove or disprove whether or not they are open systems that will allow in through the gate excess energy from the inverted realm into the circuit that I've designed. But I want to see if we can do it with OEM products, pre-existing products. Now, with this scenario, you have a sacrifice of amperage to higher volts, as we do with normal closed systems. But what you can do with higher volts is you can use that to open a gate in the open system to the inverted energy, to the inverted electricity, the cold electricity, however you want to call it. Female electricity. You got hot, you got cold. But in that same process, possibly switching between the batteries, charging a set of capacitors that once they discharge, you got a lot of amps that come back in. See, this doesn't have amps. But another way that you can access that that mechanism that opens the gate is when you have a high voltage discharge that in short burst it opens that gate and lets the energy from the ambient environment enter into the circuit, recharge your batteries and that kind of thing. It won't be sophisticated, but let's dive in and see what we can do. We got a number of components that we can salvage from this old UPS. It is a painstaking process to salvage electronic parts, but if you practice at it, there could be a time in our society where you can't just go to a store and get what you want, or a time when you can't just order from Amazon. So knowing how to do this is a good skill to have. Okay, each of these transistors has 3 terminals. One thing that's harder to do with a standard soldering gun, you don't have this nice long flat on there that you can use to desolder all 3 at once. See if I can show it here. Okay. Yeah, is this worth the time other than just buying them? No. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Is it worth the exchange? I think being responsible with what we've got is good. If I always had extra time, you know, I wouldn't mind doing this kind of thing, but yeah, I'm sacrificing time that I could be spending doing something else. So in that regard, you just gotta judge it by the current situation. If my wife needs me inside or my kids need me, then I have to stop, and it would be important to not do this and go help. So this isn't a priority thing. Most of what I do is late in the evening. I mean, right now it's I think it's about 1:30 a.m. where I live, and I'm usually up till like at least 3, just trying to do stuff that I couldn't really do during the day. So I've got 2 more rows like that. I may just save that for later and do something with these transistors here.